First contact surprise. High Admiral Nexer of the Viridian Empire stood motionless before the grand observation window of the VSS Eternal Dawn, his iridescent scales reflecting the distant starlight. The massive dreadnought, pride of the Viridian fleet, led a formation of warships that had just emerged from quantum space near the contested Centauri sector. What they found there defied all strategic projections. 3 small vessels hung in the void ahead, their hulls adorned with unfamiliar markings and a strange symbol, a circular blue flag with white stars. The ships were roughly 1/8 the size of the Eternal Dawn, their design seemingly primitive by Viridian standards. The Admiral's secondary hearts skipped a beat when his sensors chief reported they were actually constructed primarily of processed iron and aluminum. Fascinating, Nexar whispered, his throat sacs pulsing with curiosity. These must be the humans intelligence warned us about. The reports had been conflicting. Some claimed humans were barely spacefaring. Others suggested they were dangerous innovators who ignored conventional technological progression. High Admiral, his communication officer called out, the central vessel is hailing us. They're using basic radio waves. Nexer's facial ridges lifted in amusement. Accept the transmission. Let's see what these primitives have to say. The holoscreen materialized, revealing a human female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair pulled back in a tight braid. She wore a simple navy blue uniform with minimal ornamentation. This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the United Earth exploration vessel Curiosity. Welcome to the Centauri sector. I trust your quantum transition was smooth. Nexer's amusement vanished. Their understanding of quantum space travel shouldn't have been possible given their observable technology level. Captain Rodriguez, I am High Admiral Nexer of the Viridian Empire. This sector falls under our protection. Your presence here is a violation of Imperial space. Rodriguez's expression remained pleasant, but her eyes sparkled with something that made Nexer's scales itch. Interesting claim, Admiral. We've been mapping this sector for the past 6 months and haven't detected any prior claims. Perhaps your quantum beacon network is malfunctioning. The bridge fell silent. The Viridian quantum beacon network was supposed to be undetectable to lesser civilizations. Its existence was a closely guarded secret. Speaking of which, Rodriguez continued, tapping something on a console out of view, you might want to check your network's encryption. The algorithm has a fascinating vulnerability when subjected to quantum tunneling resonance. We patched it for you about an hour ago. Couldn't bear to see such elegant technology compromised by a simple oversight. Nexer's scales shifted from their regal purple to a pale blue of shock. You patched our network. Impossible. The encryption is based on 11-dimensional quantum folding. Rodriguez finished. Yes, beautiful mathematics. But you forgot to account for quantum observer paradox loops in the higher dimensions. Easy mistake to make if you approach it purely theoretically. We stumbled on the solution while trying to improve our coffee makers, actually. Coffee makers. Nexer's translator must be malfunctioning. Oh yes, Rodriguez smiled. You'd be amazed how many breakthroughs we've had trying to make the perfect cup of coffee. Did you know we accidentally discovered stable micro-wormholes because someone wanted their coffee to stay at the perfect temperature? The physics department at MIT still hasn't lived that one down. The Admiral's scientific officer was frantically checking readings. Sir, she's right about the network. And sir, I'm detecting energy signatures from their ships that don't make sense. They're using some kind of, it almost looks like they're manipulating probability fields as a power source. Oh, you can detect those. Rodriguez looked genuinely pleased. Most species miss them entirely. We call them quantum probability drives, much cleaner than antimatter, though it took us ages to figure out how to stop them from occasionally turning the coffee in our mess halls into exotic matter. That was an interesting week. Nexer's mind raced. These humans had seemingly stumbled into advanced quantum mechanics through beverage preparation. Their ships looked primitive because they had focused on practical innovation rather than aesthetic advancement. Every assumption about technological progression the Viridians had relied upon was being casually dismissed by these humans, who spoke of revolutionizing physics as if discussing the weather. Captain Rodriguez, Nexer said carefully, "I believe we should discuss this situation further. Would you be willing to dock with the Eternal Dawn for diplomatic talks?" "We'd be delighted, Admiral. Fair warning, though. We're bringing our coffee. Once you try it, you'll understand why it's responsible for half our scientific breakthroughs. I think your species will particularly enjoy our dark roast." As arrangements were made for docking, Nexer watched the human vessels with new eyes. Their simple appearance masked innovations that defied conventional understanding. The Viridian Empire had spent millennia advancing through carefully planned stages of technological development. These humans, it seemed, had simply looked at the universe and asked why not. The most disturbing part, they appeared to be genuinely enjoying themselves. Nexer had a feeling this encounter would change the galaxy forever. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. He was very curious about this coffee that had apparently helped humans revolutionize quantum physics. Perhaps, he mused, watching Captain Rodriguez's ship prepare for docking, the Viridian Empire's carefully structured approach to advancement had caused them to miss something fundamental about the nature of innovation itself. The humans had shown that great leaps forward could come from the most unexpected places, even from the simple desire to make a better cup of hot beverages. He would have to mention this in his report to the Imperial Council, right after he tried this intriguing human drink that had apparently helped unlock the secrets of the universe. The art of human innovation. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Eternal Dawn buzzed with an energy high Admiral Nexer had never experienced in his 3 centuries of service. Captain Rodriguez sat across the crystalline table, steam rising from a small metal container she called a thermos. Around them, human and Viridian engineers huddled in small groups, engaged in animated discussions that occasionally erupted in exclamations of disbelief or delight. "You're telling me," Chief Engineer Silac said, his scales flickering between shades of green and excitement, "that you discovered quantum entanglement communication because of a video game lag?" Dr. Sarah Chen, the Curiosity's lead scientist, nodded while sipping her coffee. World of Warcraft raid night. Nothing worse than lag during a boss fight. Some gaming engineers got together with quantum physicists at CERN, and well, she shrugged. The rest is history. Nexer watched as his most brilliant minds struggled to process the humans' approach to scientific advancement. The Viridians had spent generations perfecting their understanding of subatomic particles before even attempting quantum communication. The humans had apparently solved it because they wanted better ping rates in their entertainment systems. "Captain," Nexer addressed Rodriguez, "I must admit, your species' methods are unorthodox. Our records show you achieved faster-than-light travel barely 50 years after your first spaceflight. How is this possible?" Rodriguez smiled, pouring a cup of coffee for the Admiral. His sensory tendrils detected complex organic compounds and something else. Was that dopamine? "Simple necessity, Admiral. We wanted to explore, but our lives are too short to spend centuries between stars. So we had to get creative." "Creative," Nexer repeated, carefully lifting the cup with his primary manipulators. "You call completely bypassing the standard progression of technological advancement getting creative." "Who decided what's standard?" Rodriguez countered. "Your civilization mastered quantum mechanics through careful study and theoretical modeling. We did it by trying to solve everyday problems. Different paths, same destination." A commotion from one corner drew their attention. A junior human engineer was sketching something on a datapad, while several Viridian scientists watched in growing agitation. "Impossible," one of them exclaimed. "You cannot simply bypass the quantum probability matrix by—" He stopped, mandibles clicking in confusion as the human's calculations proved sound. "Why not?" The young engineer, whose nameplate read Patel, asked genuinely. If you look at it sideways and think of it like a pizza delivery route optimization problem. Oh, what? The Viridian scientist interrupted. Oh, right, you don't have pizza yet. Trust me, once you try it, you'll understand why we spent so much computational power figuring out optimal delivery algorithms. Anyway, if you approach quantum routing the same way. Nexer took a sip of coffee and immediately understood why humans had based so many discoveries around this beverage. His tertiary brain began firing with new neural connections, and he found himself considering problems from angles he'd never imagined before. The council will never believe this, he muttered, taking another sip. That's not even the best part, Rodriguez said with a grin. Wait until you see what we did with the ship's waste recycling systems. Turns out the same principles that make perfect compost also solve most of the problems with cold fusion. Before Nexer could process that statement, alarms blared throughout the ship. His communication officer's voice came through the internal system, tense with urgency. Hi, Admiral. 3 Crixian warships have just quantum jumped into the system. They're charging weapons. Rodriguez's expression shifted from friendly to focused in an instant. Crixians, the ones who've been raiding your outer colonies. Nexer's scales darkened with concern. Yes, they're a warrior species that's been causing trouble along our borders. Their technology rivals ours, and they're not known for diplomacy. Rodriguez took another sip of coffee, looking thoughtful. You know, we've been working on something interesting with our waste recycling quantum fusion principles. Mind if we try a little experiment? Captain, this is not the time for. Trust me. Admiral, she interrupted, already signaling her ship. Sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places. Besides, she added with a wink, we've been looking for a chance to test our new defense systems. They're based on an interesting principle we discovered while trying to keep ice cream from melting. Nexer found himself wondering, not for the first time that day, if the humans' casual approach to universe-altering discoveries was brilliant, terrifying, or both. As he watched Rodriguez coordinate with her crew, he had a feeling he was about to find out. The Crixians were about to learn what happened when you interrupted humans during a pleasant coffee break. Somehow, Nexer suspected this would be another story that the Imperial Council would have trouble believing. Battle of Broken Assumptions. The Crixian warships loomed in the viewport, their obsidian hulls bristling with weapon arrays. Designed to inspire terror, each vessel resembled a metallic predator, all sharp angles and threatening silhouettes. Their leader's transmission cut through space with characteristic Crixian subtlety. Viridian insects, your territory expansion ends. The Crixian commander's voice faltered as he noticed the human ships. What are these primitive vessels? Have you resorted to hiring museum pieces as defenders? Captain Rodriguez, now back aboard the Curiosity, raised an eyebrow at the transmission. She glanced at her tactical officer, Lisa Chen. Did they seriously just call us museum pieces? Pretty sure they did, Captain, Chen replied, not looking up from her console where she appeared to be, playing a game of Tetris. Admiral Nexer, still connected via quantum link, felt compelled to warn them. Captain, the Crixians have developed shields that can withstand our most powerful quantum cascade weapons. Perhaps we should. Oh, don't worry about that, Rodriguez interrupted cheerfully. Lisa, how's that new defense algorithm coming along? Just about done, Captain. You know how Tetris is all about efficient space management and pattern recognition. Well, I figured we could apply the same principles to quantum shield harmonics. The math works out surprisingly well. The Crixian commander, clearly annoyed at being ignored, fired a warning shot that streaked past the Curiosity's bow. Surrender now, and we may spare your primitive allies, Viridian. Rodriguez sighed, taking another sip of coffee. Lisa, would you kindly demonstrate our new shield technology for our Crixian friends? The ice cream preservation variant, if you please. With pleasure, Captain. Chen's fingers danced across her console, still occasionally dropping a Tetris block into place. You know, it's funny. When we were trying to figure out how to keep ice cream from melting in space without using power, we accidentally discovered you could create a quantum probability field that redirects energy based on geometric patterns. Kind of like how you arrange Tetris blocks to clear lines. The Crixians, apparently tired of waiting, launched a full barrage of quantum torpedoes at the human ships. Nexer's scales paled. That kind of firepower could vaporize a small moon. What happened next defied his understanding of physics. As the torpedoes approached the human vessels, they seemed to encounter something that made space itself hiccup. The energy weapons twisted, turned, and reorganized themselves into neat geometric patterns before dissipating harmlessly into space. Did you just turn their quantum torpedoes into a game of Tetris? Nexar asked incredulously. More or less, Chen replied, finally looking up from her console. The shield creates a probability matrix based on game theory principles. Incoming energy has to follow the rules of the game to get through. Most weapon systems don't play well with others. The Crixian commander was literally sputtering now. Impossible. Our weapons are based on the most advanced quantum cascade principles in known space. Oh, those are lovely. Rodriguez nodded appreciatively. Very elegant mathematical models. But you're thinking in straight lines. Sometimes you need to think more. Recreationally. She turned to her communications officer. Jerry, would you show them what we learned from trying to optimize pizza delivery routes? Already on it, Captain. Jerry's fingers flew across his console. You know how when you're delivering pizzas in a big city, you have to account for traffic patterns, weather, and optimal temperature maintenance. Turns out those same principles work great for targeting quantum weaponry. Before the Crixians could react, precise beams of energy shot from the human ships, threading through space in impossibly complex patterns. They bypassed the Crixian shields completely, striking with surgical precision, and doing absolutely no damage. What did you do to our ships? The Crixian commander demanded, panic creeping into his voice as systems across his fleet began shutting down. Nothing permanent, Rodriguez assured him. We just rerouted your power systems through a probability maze based on Chicago's downtown delivery grid during rush hour. They'll reset in about an hour. Plenty of time for us to have a civilized discussion about territories and boundaries. Nexer watched in amazement as the fearsome Crixian warships drifted powerless in space, completely neutralized by human technology based on food delivery optimization and puzzle games. Captain, he said slowly, I believe the Imperial Council will be very interested in discussing a formal alliance with Earth. Though I'm not sure how to explain in my report that we won a battle using ice cream preservation techniques and pizza delivery algorithms. Rodriguez grinned. Just wait until you see what we came up with while trying to keep our French fries crispy in zero gravity. But first, let's deal with our Crixian friends. I think it's time they learned about another Earth tradition, the diplomatic power of sharing a good meal. Jerry, do we still have those pizza ovens installed in Cargo Bay 3? As arrangements were made to host very confused Crixian commanders for an impromptu peace dinner, Nexer realized that the galaxy was about to change dramatically, and somehow Earth cuisine would probably be involved. Paradigm shift. The conference room aboard the Eternal Dawn had been hastily converted into what humans called the pizzeria, complete with makeshift tables and the enticing aroma of baking food. Admiral Nexer watched in fascination as three distinct species, Viridian, Crixian, and human, sat together, sharing what Captain Rodriguez had called the ultimate diplomatic tool, a good meal. The Crixian commander, Vexthar, held a slice of pizza with his armored mandibles, his warrior stoicism crumbling with each bite. And you discovered antimatter containment while trying to perfect this food's cheese consistency. Dr. Chen nodded, drawing diagrams on a napkin. The molecular structure of perfectly melted mozzarella led to some interesting insights about particle containment fields, though the real breakthrough came from trying to keep the crust crispy during teleportation. Teleportation. Nexer's scales shifted to a shade of surprised cyan. You've mastered matter transmission too. Had to. Rodriguez shrugged, reaching for another slice. Nobody likes cold pizza. Speaking of which, that's actually how we solve the quantum tunneling equations. Turns out the math for getting a hot pizza from one place to another without losing quality is surprisingly similar to calculating quantum state transfers. The Crixian science officer, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. This explains so much about your shield technology. You're not following any of the standard theoretical frameworks. You're just solving problems as they come up. Pretty much, Lisa Chin confirmed, still playing Tetris on her datapad. Traditional scientific method is great and all, but sometimes you need to think outside the box, or inside the pizza box in this case. Vexthar set down his pizza, his warrior demeanor completely transformed by the revelations of the past few hours. Our entire species dedicated itself to becoming the perfect warriors. We spent generations developing our quantum cascade weapons. And you defeated them with food delivery algorithms. To be fair, Jerry chimed in from his corner, optimizing pizza delivery in New York City is pretty much warfare already. The principles transfer surprisingly well. A junior Viridian scientist who had been running calculations on his quantum pad suddenly looked up, his scales pulsing with excitement. High Admiral, I've been analyzing the human methods. Their approach to physics isn't chaos. It's beautiful. They're not ignoring scientific principles. They're discovering completely new ones by approaching problems from unexpected angles. Nexer nodded, beginning to understand. Instead of building technology to match their theories, they build theories to match their needs, Vexthar finished, mandibles clicking in amazement. No wonder our traditional combat algorithms failed. We were playing chess while they were delivering pizzas. Captain Rodriguez smiled, pouring fresh coffee for everyone. They'd all developed quite a taste for it. The universe doesn't care how you discover its secrets, only that you do. Sometimes the most profound insights come from the simplest needs, like keeping ice cream frozen. Nexer asked, his tone gently teasing. Exactly. Though wait until you see what we've figured out about dimensional physics while trying to solve the problem of tangled headphone cords. The gathered aliens all stared at their headphone-free communication devices, suddenly feeling like they'd missed something obvious. The Council of Elder Clans will never believe this, Vexthar muttered, reaching for another slice of pizza. Centuries of martial tradition, undone by human. What did you call it? Fast food. If it helps, Rodriguez offered, we can explain it in terms of combat efficiency. After all, what is a pizza delivery driver if not a logistics expert operating in hostile territory, under strict time constraints? The Crixian commander blinked all four eyes. That actually makes sense. Perhaps there are things our warriors could learn from your delivery personnel. Now you're thinking like a human, Rodriguez grinned. In fact, I have a proposal for both your species. Earth has been looking to expand its food delivery radius. Ever considered franchising? As the conversation turned to the possibilities of interstellar pizza delivery chains, Nexer realized that the galaxy was witnessing more than just a technological revolution. The humans weren't just changing how species approached science, they were changing how civilizations interacted with each other. Who would have thought that peace in their sector of space would come not through military might or careful diplomacy, but through shared meals and the universal appeal of perfectly melted cheese? The real question now was, what would humans accidentally discover next while trying to solve their everyday problems? And more importantly, would it involve more delicious food? Looking at his empty coffee cup, Nexer had a feeling the galaxy's most interesting discoveries were yet to come. Unity in diversity. 6 months after the historic first contact in the Centauri sector, the Galactic Council chamber was buzzing with unprecedented activity. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to witness something that would have been unthinkable half a year ago. The joint presentation of the first human Viridian Crixian Cooperative Initiative. High Admiral Nexer stood at the podium alongside Captain Rodriguez and Commander Vexthar, still amazed by how much had changed. The chamber itself reflected the human influence. Delegates sipped various Earth beverages. Coffee had become a galactic sensation, and more than a few representatives were discreetly enjoying what humans called snacks during the proceedings. Distinguished delegates, Nexer began, his scales shimmering with pride. 6 months ago, we thought we understood the natural progression of technological advancement. We were wrong. The humans have shown us that innovation knows no single path. Rodriguez stepped forward, carrying not a data pad but a simple paper notebook, another Earth custom that had strangely caught on among alien scientists. Something about the tactile connection helping with creative thinking, she'd explained. When we first met our galactic neighbors, she said, they were confused by our methods. Now, we're proving that combining different approaches leads to discoveries none of us could have made alone. The main holodisplay activated, showing their first joint project. The assembled delegates gasped, some in shock, others in admiration. We call it the Unified Innovation Initiative, Vexthar announced, his warrior mandibles now decorated with elegant diplomatic markings. A network of research stations where scientists from all our worlds work together, approaching problems from every possible angle. The display showed images from the first station. Viridian theoretical physicists working alongside human short-order cooks to develop new food preservation technologies, which had unexpectedly led to breakthroughs in temporal mechanics. Crixian warriors and Earth delivery drivers collaborating on revolutionary spaceship designs based on optimal route planning in congested cities. The results have exceeded our wildest expectations, Rodriguez continued. By combining Viridian systematic research, Crixian discipline, and human, let's call it creative problem-solving, we've made more progress in 6 months than any of us made in decades alone. A delegate from a newly spacefaring race raised an appendage. But how can we be sure this approach is sustainable? It seems so chaotic. Chaos? Nexer chuckled, a very human gesture he picked up. Let me tell you about chaos. Last week, a human scientist spilled coffee on a Viridian quantum computer. Instead of causing a disaster, it led to a breakthrough in wet computing that solved our neural network limitations. The week before that, a Crixian warrior's suggestion about battlefield strategy helped optimize Earth's global internet infrastructure. The universe is vast and full of mysteries, Rodriguez added. Why limit ourselves to solving them in just one way? Speaking of which, she grinned at the assembled delegates. Who's ready to hear about our new faster-than-light drive design? It started when someone asked why space couldn't work like a microwave oven. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Nexar watched as centuries of formal protocol gave way to genuine curiosity and enthusiasm. Across the galaxy, research centers were adopting what had become known as the human approach, solving complex problems by connecting them to everyday experiences. The Crixians had transformed their warrior academies into innovation centers, where combat training included shifts at busy restaurants to develop strategic thinking. Viridian scientists now started each day with what humans called brainstorming sessions, often involving food, games, and seemingly unrelated activities that somehow led to brilliant discoveries. As Rodriguez explained their new drive system, which somehow involved principles derived from toasting the perfect marshmallow, Nexer reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy had expected humanity to learn from its elder species. Instead, humanity had taught them all that the path to the stars could be paved with pizza, coffee, and the simple desire to make everyday life a little bit better. And that's not even the most exciting part, Rodriguez was saying, her eyes twinkling. Wait until you hear what happened when we introduced a group of quantum physicists to mini-golf. The future, Nexer realized, would be very different from anything their civilizations had imagined. And somehow, that was perfectly fine. After all, as humans like to say, variety was the spice of life, though he was still trying to figure out exactly what spice had to do with it. Looking around the chamber at the excited faces of so many different species, all sharing ideas, food, and friendship, he knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was finally ready to stop taking itself so seriously and start enjoying the journey of discovery.